Once upon a time, there lived a kind and well-mannered girl named Ella. Her father had remarried after her mother's death, so she lived with her stepmother and two stepsisters, Anastasia and Drusilla. Ella's stepmother and stepsisters were unkind to her. They made her do all the household chores, including cooking and cleaning, while they lounged around the house. They called her Cinderella because she often had ashes on her face from tending to the fireplace. Cinderella was forced to do all the housework and was never allowed to attend any of the fancy events her stepsisters attended. Despite this, Cinderella was always polite and respectful. She remained kind and hopeful of a better life someday. She fed the cat, birds, and mice who became her friends and kept her company. Anastasia and Drusilla were unkind and rude to Cinderella. They often made fun of her and called her dirty and ragged. The stepsisters considered themselves far more pretty and charming than Cinderella. They made Cinderella do extra chores just to give her a hard time. But Cinderella was never rude or unkind to Anastasia or Drusilla. One day, an invitation to a grand royal ball arrived at their house. The king announced that he was throwing a grand ball at the palace and invited all the eligible maidens in the land to attend. Anastasia and Drusilla were thrilled, but they refused to let Cinderella go. Anastasia, Drusilla, and her stepmother were all excited about the ball. They hoped the prince would pick the stepsisters to dance with him. They thought they looked the best and were the prettiest maidens in the entire ball. Cinderella was left at home to do all the chores. Feeling sad and alone, Cinderella sincerely wished she could go to the ball. But she did not have a dress, shoes, or any transport. She remembered her fairy godmother and hoped there would be better times for her one day. The fairy godmother was really touched by Cinderella's wish and her kind heart. And something magical happened. The fairy godmother visited Cinderella and granted her a beautiful dress, a pair of glass slippers, and a coach made from a pumpkin. The mice magically turned into horses and the cat into a coachman. But Cinderella had to return home by midnight. The magic would only last till midnight. After that, her dress would turn back into rags and her coach into a pumpkin. With tears of joy, Cinderella set off to the ball, looking stunning in her gown. When she arrived at the palace, everyone was amazed by her beauty. The prince himself was captivated by her kindness and grace. The two danced together all night, and Cinderella was the happiest she had ever been. But as the clock struck midnight, Cinderella remembered the warning from her fairy godmother. She rushed out of the palace. In haste, she left behind one of her glass slippers, which the prince found. The next day, the prince searched the kingdom for the mysterious girl who had won his heart. When he arrived at Cinderella's house, the stepsisters tried to fit into the shoe, but it only fit Cinderella. Overjoyed, the prince recognized her as his true love and asked her to marry him. Cinderella's stepmother and stepsisters were shocked and ashamed of how they had treated her, but Cinderella forgave them and accepted the prince's proposal. Moral: the story of Cinderella teaches us the value of kindness and believing in our dreams. No matter how difficult the circumstances may be, we must never give up hope and always be true to